I'm Wendy, and this is Wonky Moon Crafts. This is a podcast about yarn, yarn dyeing, mostly knitting, sometimes crocheting, any other yarny related things I might get up to. I come to you from Northeast Ohio in the United States. That's where I live. That's where I grew up. It's wonderful here right now with fall and the fall leaves. It's actually, today I'm recording this, it's Halloween. So it's the perfect time to talk about sweaters and knitting and all the cozy things. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I hope that you decide to join me. Today we're going to be talking about what I'm wearing, 2 projects that I have on my needles right now that I've kind of set myself a little bit of a deadline for. We'll see how we're coming on that. I've also made an acquisition and a little idea that I want to run by you of something that I'm thinking about doing and would like to see if you would enjoy it. So let's get chatting, let's get cozy, and have a good time. What I'm wearing. This is the Stripe Pipe Sweater by Veronika Lindberg, or Kukta Kavika, and this is a pretty popular sweater. I feel like a lot of people have made it, and I totally understand why. I really liked making this. It's like everybody says, the stripes, super potato chippy. This is one of the fastest things I ever knit. I did dye all of the yarn. Let me see if I can show you a little bit here. These are all my colors. I have the purple, navy blue, I have this minty green, peachy yellow, and then I have a light blue. So that is the colors that I used for this sweater. Like I said, I dyed it myself, all the colors. What I did to try to keep it cohesive was, so I knew I wanted a little bit of like a moody, pastel-y type look. I don't know if moody's the right word, but like somewhat, I don't know, not bright. So what I did to kind of give it, in my mind I had a bit of a good night moon, the little children's book kind of idea in my head for the colors. And so what I did was when I dyed each of the colors, I included a little bit of silver dye, a dye color called Silver by I think Jacquard. I'll put it down below. But the Jacquard acid dye, I added a little bit of that to each of the other colors. So for example, I used like the Jacquard, I think it was the Jacquard navy blue, but then I added a little bit of the silver to it. I used the peach color, I think it's peach blush is what it's called, dye, and I added again a little bit of that silver to it. So that's what I did for all of them, so that they kept this kind of undertone throughout to make it cohesive, like it was meant to go together. I think it turned out pretty good. This is one of my favorite things to wear. It's essentially just like an oversized sweatshirt. And so it's super comfortable. I can throw it on with anything and I can wear it around the house. That is when I don't have to pick up the cat because he will get his claws stuck in it. He's not very good at using those. But this is like I said, one of my favorite things to wear. It's just so easy to throw on with anything. So that is the Stripe Pipe Sweater. This is the size 3. It does have a drop shoulder. You knit across. It's a DK weight yarn. And you knit across the back, do some shaping there, then you knit, front, the other side, and then join and knit the rest of the front panel, and then join in the round once you split for sleeves. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. It's been a little while since I made it, but yeah, I really liked it. So I would want to make some more of her patterns because I did really enjoy this. So that's the Stripe Pipe Sweater by Veronika Lindberg, or Kukta Kavika. Whips. So recently I posted and did a short video about how had two projects and I was going to try to finish them both by around the 18th-ish or so of November. This is quite a challenge, as you'll see. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an update here of where these projects stand currently. So I did make some pretty good progress on the Portobello sweater. That's one of the projects. It's Portobello sweater and the champagne pullover. Portobello sweater by Cheryl Mokhtari. It is basically a Henley. Let me unravel it here. It's basically a Henley. So since I last showed this, I have added buttons finally, after going back and forth many times. I added buttons. I finished the body, bound off the hem here. I finished one of the sleeves, and I am now on the second sleeve. So all I have to do is finish this sleeve, and I will be done with this. So I feel pretty good about finishing this. I'm not too worried about getting this one done. I do love the way the buttons turned out on it. I'm glad that I was a bit fussy about it until I got it the way I wanted it. I also watched some videos. It did take me quite a while to do the buttons, but I watched some videos. So let me see if I can show you this. See how there's like a little bit of a gap and it sticks up a bit? So I watched a video about how you do this. And the reason for doing this, as I recently learned, was so that you're creating enough room for the fabric to sit once it's buttoned. Because see how it's the width of the fabric? So that it sits nicely when it's buttoned, which is supposed to, and it's honestly not that hard of a technique, it was pretty easy, but that is to keep it, in theory, which I probably could have done a little bit of a better job, but I think for the most part it turned out pretty good. To keep it from pulling, you know, sometimes you'll see like a cardigan or something like that, where the button band isn't straight on right here, it's pulling around the buttons. That is because there's not enough room for that shaft in the button. That's a fun fact I learned. So there you go. This is the Sandusgarn Duo. It is a cotton wool blend. So I think it'll be a nice weather, not too warm, not too cool, that I will be able to get a lot of wear out of this year round, except for like the hottest months of the summer. I should be able to wear this pretty often. And even then, I feel like if you're in an air conditioning or something like that, I'll be able to throw this on over like a tank top or something like that. The colors are, I believe it's dark rose and dark powder rose and light powder rose. I do have this in my projects on Ravelry. This is a DK sweater. This is, let me just check my notes here. This is a 96 centimeters to 130.5 centimeters. It doesn't have the inches listed under the project page. It's extra small to double XL, so probably not the most size inclusive. I did look though, most of her more recent patterns do seem to be more size inclusive. And it is a 21 stitch by 32 row gauge. And it recommends 10 to 12 centimeter positive ease. Now it's definitely a little bit bigger on me. This is a size 3 because, as I've said a few times, I've lost weight recently. So when I started this, I had pretty much solidly always been a size 3. I would probably have knit a size 2 now. Or maybe it was a medium. I'm sorry, this was a medium. So I pretty much always was knitting a size 3 or a medium in most everything. And this, so like I said, I probably would have done a size 2 or a small in most things now. But as this is one of those I started beforehand, but I don't think it's too large on me. So I think it's still, and for what it is, the kind of style it is, I think it's going to be perfect. So I'm very excited about this. That's where I'm at. So I just need to finish this sleeve. So that's project 1 of the 2 projects I'm trying to finish by basically, like I said, around November 18th-ish. So feeling good about this one. Let's see how good we're feeling about the other one. Champagne Pullover is my second whip that I'm trying to complete by this November 18th-ish day. So here's where I'm at. This is a pattern by Sari Nordlund. I have finished the entire body, bound it off. I've blocked down to about here. You can kind of tell a little bit that it's a little bit, I don't know, not as nice down there. That's from where I knit after I blocked it. But that part is done. I cast on this morning the sleeve. It is a, so you do some shaping, short row shaping on the sleeve. So you can see it's like actually a little bit shorter on underneath the arm versus the top. So I just finished the short rows and now I can start working in the round. But what I decided to do was put these on hold on this sleeve and go ahead and pick up, while it's still fresh in my mind, I'm going to pick up this sleeve and do the short rows on this side as well, and then go ahead and work the sleeve. So that kind of like, because with the lace pattern and everything else, it's a little bit, I don't like picking up stitches, particularly for sleeves. So I feel like kind of right now, while I've got the headspace for it, I should just do that part, get it out of the way on both of them, and then I just have to knit the sleeves and just do, it does call for some decreases underneath to shape the sleeve a little bit, but that's all, and that won't be bad. So once I've got this short row shaping and kind of got the stitches picked up and got it started, I think that's going to make it a little bit easier for me to just pick it up and work on it. I am doing some traveling the next few weeks, so sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to pick up and just work on this sweater, because there is the charts and so on. And the charts, I mean, I think you can kind of maybe tell looking at this that there's no like, it's not just a simple like 5 or so repeat, you flip flop the cable, go to the next one, so on. You really don't have that with this sweater. Like there is a repeat, of course, but it's pretty significant amount of rows you're doing before you're hitting that repeat. There's no way I'm remembering it. So I'm really watching that. And the sleeve is basically a mini version of that. The same pattern as here, all the way down the top of the sleeves. So it's not something that I'm just gonna like be able to easily just pick up and just knit on. I really have to like lay out the charts and set it up and work through it. And I mean, I can do that on a plane and stuff, but sometimes it's just, I found that if I'm too tired or anything like that, then I just make a lot of mistakes, and it's really not the thing to work on, which is when I'll pick the Portobello sweater up and work on, that sleeve and getting that done. But I feel like the more I can do to put this in a spot that makes it a little bit easier for me just to pick it up and go, the better it's going to be. I don't want to be halfway through picking up stitches or something like that, sitting in the airport, and then my plane gets called or something like that, and then I just don't like being in the middle of things like that. So I'd rather just have it done. So I think I'm just going to do that, get both sleeves kind of started and get them to a point where it's like, okay, I just have to work through the chart, do a few little decreases on the underneath, and that's that, until it's the right length. I think that's going to be make this a little bit more manageable for me. Now, that being said, I have 2 sleeves to finish and still add the collar, and it's cables and lace. So I really need to block this as well. Because you can see, again, I can definitely tell where it was blocked down to. I don't know if you can, but I can definitely tell. So those last few inches of the chart there of the pattern. But so it really needs to be blocked, and the sleeves are going to definitely need blocked so I know how long they are. So, while that's drying and stuff, that's going to take up a little bit of time too, which is also part of the reason usually I would be all about doing the collar right away so that way I could see how it truly is going to fit on me. But I feel like if it comes down to it and I have to do both sleeves most of the sleeves, block it to make sure that stuff's good, then put on the cuffs and the collar, and that part doesn't get blocked before I wear it, I don't think that's the end of the world. So if those parts don't get blocked, I'm just more concerned about the actual lace and cable part being blocked. So this is definitely the trickiest part of the challenge. And if you're wondering, so this was I cast this on January 1st. And I have slowly been working on it. Obviously, there was a bit of a time there where I didn't work on it late in the summer much. But this was part of, if you watch Sibling Energy podcast, which I find highly enjoyable, they did a bucket list cow challenge or make-along challenge. And this was what I had chosen to do because I've never done cables like this before. I've never done a big lace project like this before. So that is at the time particularly. So this is what I cast on as something that I really wanted to challenge myself to do and I thought was really pretty. I did dye this yarn myself. This is the Mohair and the that's my cable needle sticking through. You see that right there? This is just a fingering weight, probably from Knomad Yarns, because that's typically where I get my yarn. Same with the Mohair. Probably an 80-20, 80 merino wool, 20 nylon sock yarn, and then like I said, just some Mohair silk lace to hold with it. And then I dyed those together in the same pot so that way they would match. And I made sure to dye all of the yarn together so you can see I've got some more. I have 2 more skeins of each plus this to finish up. I thought for a minute I might be short on yarn, but now I'm thinking I won't be. Given where I'm at now, I should be 100% fine. So this is, just to give you a few little stats about this one. So again, this is the Champagne Pullover by Sari Nordlund. It is a 20 stitch by 28 row gauge. It is, again, fingering and lace held together to make a DK weight. There is sizes 1 through 9. It is 95 centimeters to 175 centimeters or 37.5 inches to 69 inch bust for the sizes. It is, and it recommends an 8-inch positive ease. This is, again, like the last one. This I knit a size 3. I honestly have absolutely no idea if I'm on gauge or not. None at all. Couldn't tell you. It's definitely a little bit big on me. That is probably more to do with me losing weight than my gauge, although it might be my gauge a bit. It's definitely, I think, largely because of the amount of weight I've lost. Just for reference, my bust measurement when I started the sweater compared to now is 3.5 inches smaller. So but what I'm trying to do is, I think it'll still be perfect. It's going to be definitely a little bit more ease, but I think the thing is it's going to be more of a cropped, oversized, and I think that's going to look really cute with some skinny jeans, high-waisted skinny jeans. So I feel like this is still going to turn out with something I'm very happy with, even though it's going to be a little bit big for me. So that, again, is the Champagne Pullover by Sari Nordlund. Acquisitions. The acquisitions I have today is one particular thing. So last year was the first year I bought this. I bought a journal, a yarn journal, and / planner. And I've gotten some things before to kind of track my projects because I am a very tactile person versus digital. And it wasn't quite right for me. It wasn't quite working. But I picked up this. This is my 2025 year in yarn journal. And it's a bullet journal and project log for knitters and crocheters. And I have used this like crazy. I really enjoy this because I think it's partially the planner part of it that is the part that is useful for me. There is project pages in the back, and I do use those. I use them just to put together ideas, or if I buy yarn for a project, to kind of put it together with what I bought, how much I have, and so on, and what size I plan to make, so that way I have a bit of an idea when I start the project. There's notes section in the back where I've made notes of like cardigans I want to make, and ideas for different things I want to do, and just stuff like that I make random notes about. You can see this is, let me see here. This is one of the project pages. This is the project page for my Juno tee that I made. Sorry, I have terrible handwriting. That's just something that we just happens. So I've got lots of my notes here. You can see it gives you a little like, how did it make you feel? How difficult did you think it was? And so on. And so you can put some additional notes in there there's a pattern database. I don't obviously really use that. In there, supply wish list, supply inventory pages. But what I particularly like is the monthly pages. So there is the planner portion of it. So it does start with like a vision board for 2025. So you can put together your kind of your favorite things to start out with, things you want to accomplish for the year, goals you have for the year, so on. And then you get into your month of, you can track your goals each day. You can, set specific monthly goals. You can, there's, a wish list, to-do lists, and important dates, things like that. You can put little ideas and inspiration. It's fun. And there's different, let me show you a different one, sorry. So then every other month there's like a little bit of a different layout to keep it fresh. Some months I put more than others, but this is something that I've really been enjoying using. So, and I use a little bit more here than just my yarn related things. I've also put, like, for the habit trackers and stuff, I put some personal things. Like, for example, I have a goal just to make sure that I walk at least 2 miles every day because I work from home, and that doesn't always happen if I don't make an effort to do it. So that's something that I track in here to make sure that I've done that every day at a minimum. And so I use it for a lot of different things like that. It does have this nice little bookmark. It's got a little flappy. So anyway, this is the 2025 journal. So the 2026 just came out. It is, and I will link this below. This is, it comes in this nice little box. And this is, and for the record, this particular, there's lots of different ones, but this particular one, which I really enjoy, is from Summer Day Crochet. And this is the 2026 journal. I literally just got it yesterday. It came in the mail. I'm so excited. It still has your little elastic band to hold it together. You still got your little bookmark. And for the most part, a lot of it's the same. You still have your vision board and your calendars. You still have your trackers and stuff for each month. Planning your different months and what you get done. There are some additional new pages. So you still have your project logs, pretty much the same. You still have your inventory lists, your note sections, and you still have your spots for your vision board and so on. But there's also some fun little things like this yarn bingo, and a little game board tracker. Just some fun little things that you can do if you want to or not. I didn't show this in the other one, but this is in the other one. You have a little completed projects overview. And then you can actually put this one actually has the pages listed. So on the other one, I put what page number that completed project is on. But here you can put it actually on that page, which is good. So you can then flip to the project page and see the notes if you wanted to see the notes on that completed project. But it's kind of fun that there's some additional challenges and things like that added in here. One of the challenges things, I don't remember which one it was. There was a 30-day organization one. Just some fun things like this one I thought was cute, the Mix It Up challenge, so that it's like different types of projects to make. So it's got like hair accessory, basket or tray, socks or slippers, holiday decorations, and so on, which I think is pretty fun. So I like the color. It's got a nice kind of linen finish. I'm really excited to get started on this once I finish out my 2025 journal. So I picked that up, and with it, I also added on this little notepad. I don't know if you can see here. It says yarn is my love language, which I just thought was cute. So I picked that up as well. So that is my acquisition, the yarn journal and planner for 2026 from Summer Day Crochet. The last thing I wanted to talk about today was an idea I had. So as I mentioned with my stripe pipe sweater, my champagne pullover, I dyed the yarn myself for those projects. I have several projects where that's the case. Most of my projects I've actually dyed the yarn for, like purchased bare undyed yarn, dyed it up for a specific project, and then made that project kind of a start to finish. There are some cases where that's obviously not been what I've done. Like my Juno tee, that was not the case. The Portobello sweater, that is not the case. In part because I have don't really know how to dye plant fibers at this point, but for most of the protein fiber related projects I have dyed that yarn, unless it was something like a specific type of yarn that I have not been able to purchase undyed or something like that. Something unique about it that created it to be something that I would not dye. That being said, so what I was thinking was taking you along with me on my next project from start to finish that included dyeing the yarn for the project. Once I finish up my champagne pullover and my Portobello sweater, I intended to cast on something new. May or may not be something that I dyed yarn for, because I do have a couple other little projects that I want to get started on. But in the meantime, though, once I kind of get through those, I did plan on dyeing some yarn for my next kind of dyed yarn 100%, follow through project through the knitting and everything. So if that's something you're interested in, I was thinking I could go through that process, show that to you. That being said, though, I'm curious as to if that's something that you're interested in, what you think might be the more, what you'd find more interesting. So I kind of have a couple projects that I'm up in the air on that I've been wanting to dye yarn for. And specifically, So again, I typically buy my yarn from Knomad Yarns, and previously they didn't have certain types of fibers that I really wanted to use for like cable projects and so on. And they've recently added some new yarns to their shop, and I have really been kind of wanting to try those out. So I have like they have a Corriedale woolen spun that I thought would be fun to try and dye and see how that goes. And there's and then I've also in the past I have some yarn that I have been wanting to use up that I've kind of been saving for a special project that I also want to dye. And so I've got a couple different things, different depending on what project we go with, what yarn I might dye. But that being said, here's the project. So I'm between either colorwork or cables. And I might be leaning towards colorwork, but I'm open to, but I have also been really wanting something cabled. But finishing up this cable and lace sweater, I wouldn't be upset about a break from cables for a minute. So, but we're also going to the deeper winter where it would be more enjoyable to have. So I can go either way. But anyway, so for cable projects, if that's the route we go, the two projects I've been kind of eyeing for quite a while is the Granny Cardigan by Joji Locatelli. That is a DK weight project, sizes 1 through 10. And it is, it's this, I'll put up a picture here, but it's a very like, it just looks like Granny Cardigan is just the perfect name for it. It looks like a granny cardigan. It just looks like you'd wear it around, I don't know, a coffee house, a library with your bunny slippers. I don't know. But I am really interested in potentially making that. The other cable project I've been looking at is the Heart Chain Sweater by Mayo. One thing with this is it is small to 2XL. I did hear somewhere that they might be extending the size range, so it's not the most size inclusive project. But I'm a sucker for hearts, as I have my heart necklace on here. I'm a sucker for hearts, and so that one's kind of been on my radar as a chunky cable looking sweater. A more size inclusive option would be the Sirena by Cookie the Knitter. That is an Aran weight. The Heart Chain Sweater is worsted weight. The Sirena by Cookie the Knitter is an Aran weight, and that's extra small through 4XL. I'm not sure how I feel about an Aran weight sweater, just to be honest. That's one of the drawbacks for that, because I just wonder if that's going to be too warm, but it's kind of what the sweater is. Anyway, those are my kind of three potential, if I go the route of cables, one of those three. So if there's one of those that you would like to see, let me know in the comments below. And then the other pattern, the colorwork patterns I'm looking at are the Rose Sweater by Knit. This is obviously very popular. It came out not that long ago. The yarn that I have that I would potentially use for this, and I'll probably use it for it eventually someday regardless, and if we go with a different project, I might still just get the Corriedale woolen spun. But for this one specifically, I got some yarn last year that is undyed, and it's 10% cashmere, 10% alpaca, merino. I don't remember but it's the softest, squishiest yarn. It's got a little bit of a halo. It's DK weight. So this pattern actually calls for fingering weight and lace, but I would just hold it just as is so I could feel that beautifulness. But given the makeup of the yarn, I think it would still have a similar effect to a lace weight and fingering weight together with a fuzzy yarn like a Mohair or Sari or something held with it. So I think it would still work well. So that's a potential. That comes in XX small to 5XL. And I think the thing about this that could be fun with the colorworks is obviously picking out, getting multiple colors and getting those to match together to make a nice cohesive colorwork project. So I have two other colorwork sweaters that I was looking at. So it's the Kindhearted Sweater by Clara Eggers. This is a DK weight sweater and it comes in sizes A through H. Again, I'm a sucker for hearts and I've been eyeing this one for a while and I think that could be really fun. I also really like the look of, sorry, I keep looking at my notes, but the Forget Me Not jumper by Florence Miller, handmade by Florence, is so cute. I really like it. And that comes in sizes A through I, and that is also DK weight for that sweater. So I'm between, okay, so here, let me back up a step. So here's my thought process with this. What I would do is I would show you what yarn I'm getting. I would kind of go through the process of picking out colors, showing you how I put the colors together to try to achieve whatever colors it is that I'm trying to get, and dye it up, show you the result. I will tell you that I am very, for the most part, I have a bit of a part of the fun is seeing how it turns out, and I'll probably just use it even if it doesn't come out exactly how I thought it would. I mean, this sweater, for example, the peach was a little bit less peachy than I expected, and the yellow was a little bit more yellow than I expected, but you put it together and then it looks, I love that I went with it and it still looks good. So sometimes you just have to kind of go with the surprise of how it turns out, and then you're pleasantly pleased. I'm not opposed to necessarily redying certain colors if I don't think they turn out exactly the way I wanted them to. I've over-dyed things before. So those, I would just take you along through that entire process of however it went. And of course, from there, once the dyeing process was done and stuff, and I got to a point on my other projects where I could, cast it on and start working on it, knitting through it and so on. That would be my plan. I would love for anybody to join me through that process. If you wanted to dye your own yarn, if you wanted to do those things, or just see how I do it. But that's kind of my thought process. So really, from the beginning to the end, everything that I do. And I am by no means an expert at yarn dyeing or any of those things. This is solely just something that I thought would be fun. When I started knitting, I basically started dyeing yarn at the same time, just for kicks of it. And there's not a ton of videos out there about how to do it or anything. So, I've definitely watched some. ChemKnits is probably the one I watched the most, to kind of figure out how to dye yarn. I primarily dye, again, protein fibers with the acid dye yarn. But again, I get in more into detail about all of that through the process. So that being the case, again, if this is, I'll probably show it either way, but I would really love to get your input on, as I'm kind of going through the process, what you'd be interested in seeing. Would you be interested in seeing me do more of a tonal dye? In which case I would do the cable, one of the cable sweaters probably, and go through that and see how it comes out with the Corriedale yarn, which, like I said, is a newer yarn from Knomad, and I've never dyed anything like that type of a fiber before. Typically I dyed a merino, alpaca, something like that. So that could be interesting. And a little bit simpler, just doing, something more tonal. Or would you like me to do a color work and see putting different colors together and so on to try to make a color palette and make that work with the design and all of that? So here's the questions. 1, cable pattern or colorwork pattern? And then once we've kind of established which of those, which cable pattern or which colorwork pattern would you guys be most interested in seeing? I can't say 100% go with whatever the majority is, but I would definitely like to see what you guys would be more interested in seeing, because I think that would help me kind of narrow down, because I am excited about all of these projects and do at some point want to make all of them. So anything that can kind of tip me one way or the other, I welcome. So that is my idea. That's something that I plan to kind of start showing. But again, please comment below. I would love to know what your thoughts are, if what you'd be interested in, like I said, of those projects and so on, of what you'd want to see me go through that process. So I think that's all I have for today. If there's any other comments or things you'd like to see, I would love to hear. I would also love to hear what you're working on, where you're watching from, and, we're here to support each other. We are here to make each other's days brighter. We all need that sometimes. So I hope this was able to do that for you a little bit, and maybe give you a little inspiration about things you can make. And if you enjoyed what you saw, please, share with a friend, subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram or TikTok. And I also will link below to the things I've talked about. I will also link below in the description my Ravelry page, and links to the Ravelry patterns, or to the patterns on Ravelry that I have talked about. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, I'd love to hear from you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll chat soon. Thanks. Bye.